So feel fortunate to have Britt Peckham with us from Swave Engage. She and I met pre-pandemic, so it's been a while, but we're excited to have her talk about the topic of why social media matters for your nonprofit organization and your guide to success. Just a quick reminder, numbers for nonprofits. We help nonprofits manage money with mission. We do everything from day-to-day accounting, monthly financials, help with audit preparations, which is happening for a lot of our calendar year ends right now, and annual budget preparations. So if you're having any issues with any of those right now within your organizations, we'd appreciate the chance to talk with you and see if we might be able to help. But without further ado, I'll turn this over to Britt and let her introduce herself and share the topic that she's going to today. Thanks for being here, everyone. Oh, I do want to add one last thing. These things are meant to be interactive. I know it's a little bit more challenging with the virtual world, but there is the hand raise thing. Either myself or my colleague Tyler will make sure that Britt sees the question. She's probably in tune to it as well. So please raise those questions, that proverbial friend that had an issue come up that you would like to ask them about. We're all about sharing here and trying to engage and make this useful for everybody and have some takeaways today. So please raise your hands. Thanks.
That sounds great. Thanks, Nick. So just before I begin here, can you see my screen? Is it being shared? It says good morning. Okay, wonderful. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about social media and how to become a social media pro for your nonprofit organization, or at least somewhere to get started. So before we begin, I'd really like to get to know you a little bit better. I'm sure you all know each other a little bit from these breakfasts, but if you could just drop in the chat your name and your organization and maybe what your position is. And then I have a couple other questions, but we'll start there. Thanks, Nick. And maybe people are just settling in here, but okay, there we go. Melissa, nice to meet you. Care, nice to meet you. Laura. Awesome, awesome. Thank you for being here. Okay, and as you're dropping those in there, my second question is, from a scale of 1 to 10, what is your experience with social media? And 10 being a lot of experience and 1 being, I don't know what I'm doing. Nice, this is good to see. So it looks like we have a lot of like middle of the road people here. Okay, and then finally, my last question is, what do you hope to learn in this presentation? Or what's something that you'd like to know more about for social media? Okay. Add some analytics. Okay, thank you so much for dropping that in the chat. And We should be covering most of these topics, and if I don't cover it in this presentation, you're welcome to reach out to me anytime at this email, just so you have it. And we will begin. So today's agenda is, where do we even begin? Why is social media so important for my nonprofit organization? And how do we become a social media pro, which includes creating buzz with your allies, a few must-have tools, and frequently asked questions with the answers. So my name is Brittany Peckham, or you can call me Britt. I've been in the marketing world since 2013. That was my senior year of high school. They created a position at our local Culver's, which was Verona, and I actually grew up in Oregon, Wisconsin. And from there, I knew that I wanted to do something in the marketing industry, but kind of explored a lot of different things all the way through college. And then this picture here is from a class project that I did at UW-Madison. And we had to either generate revenue or raise funds for a nonprofit organization. And my group decided to raise funds for the American Family Children's Hospital. We raised about $800, and we had about 80 people who participated in our event, which was called the Mad Hunt, and it was a Madison-wide scavenger hunt, which was really, really fun. And something that I realized from this event was there's a lot of creativity that can go into raising funds for a nonprofit organization. So from there, I knew I wanted to do something in the nonprofit industry that had to do with creativity. And so that's what led me to where I am today, which is with Swave Engage. And Swave has been around for about 1.5 years now. And we help nonprofits with social media and email marketing. So the first question, where do we even begin? We're going to start with 3 questions. What are our goals? Who are our allies? And how many legs are we standing on? And that last one might be puzzling. And you might be saying, Britt, I'm sitting on a chair, so I'm not standing on any legs. But that's not what I mean. And we'll touch on that in the upcoming slides. So we'll begin with what are our goals, which is pretty basic, but it's really, really important. And I forgot to mention that a pen and paper for this presentation is a really good idea. I mean, you can make lists in your head or mental note, but I think it's a good idea to have something in front of you. So I'll give you a moment to do that.
Britt, people are asking if you're going to make the slides available. Everybody's a little bit different depending on legality, are you willing to share the slides?
Yeah, I have no problem sharing the slides. Yeah,
Cool.
We can share that after the presentation, definitely.
Thank you.
So now I'd like you to create 2 to 5 goals that you have for the next 3 to 5 months that social media might be able to help with. And while we're doing this, we want to make sure that our goals are SMART, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So for example, we will have $10,000 raised by July of 2022. I'll give you a moment to do that. And Nick, if you can just let me know if people have questions as I'm going along. I also have a couple slides that are breaks for questions, so that will be good too.
You bet.
Awesome. Would anybody be comfortable sharing their goal with the group? I'll give you a a couple more seconds, and it's okay if we don't want to, but I encourage the share. Okay, we'll keep it to
I'll
ourselves.
kick us
You're gonna
off.
put one? Okay, let's hear it.
I would like, to be doing a blog or a vlog, every month, let's say starting by end of May, with a goal of reaching, 1,000 views.
Great. You did a great job making it smart. Okay, so our next question is, who are your allies? So this is another list that we're going to create, or it is a list that we're going to create. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to write down a list of your allies, and that could be local restaurants or other businesses, local politicians, community influencers. And as you're making this list, I want you to think of partners that support your organization who have a good amount of followers of their own. And then once you have that list put together, we're just going to put it to the side for a moment because we will talk about this more in later slides. So how many legs are you standing on? And this is the one that might sound a little funny. And it comes from, have you ever heard the saying, financial success comes from diversifying your assets? I'm sure a few of us have, or if not all of us. And this applies when it comes to your marketing activities. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So let's say we're trying to raise funds. We might have a fundraising event, ongoing social media, a give back night at a local restaurant, and sales of merchandise. Or another example is social media, PR outreach with TV and the news, magazines, speaker engagements, and ally engagement. So the important thing to think of here is, how many resources does my nonprofit organization have? It's a good idea to have more than one thing that you're doing within your marketing mix in order to reach your goals. Just in case you do one thing and it doesn't go as planned, you at least have a few other things that are in your bucket to make sure that you're going to reach that goal. But it depends on your budget and your resources. So if you can only do 2 to start, that's okay. If you can do more than 4, that's great. But it's really custom to your organization. And you might have noticed that within both of those mixes, I included social media. And the reason being is, especially now, social media is so important. And at the bare minimum, when someone meets you and hears about your organization, you can bet that they're going to go onto Facebook, onto Instagram, and search there to learn more about your organization. So at least having a solid portfolio when people come to your page is an important thing for this day and age. And there are a few other reasons. One, 3.6 billion people use social media worldwide. That's a lot of people. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot of people. That means that there's going to be a lot of congestion within that space, and how do I break through the noise? And to that I say there are many filtering options within each platform that we can use to break through that noise and to target our specific audience. And then a really cool statistic that I like for the nonprofit industry and social media is 55% of people who engage with nonprofits on social media on average take some type of action. So if you can get people to your social media platforms, then half of those people, if not more, will take action in your activities for your nonprofit organization.
Britt, we've got a specific question here quick. Are there specific social media platforms that have risen to the top as necessary or best for nonprofits?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my personal favorite from working with nonprofits is Facebook. And the reason being is Facebook has a lot of features that are specific to nonprofits. So for example, you can set a donation button at the top of your page. And the really, really cool thing about this is for payment processing, they don't have a fee, which you probably don't find anywhere else, or at least I haven't seen. So that's a great feature. They have the fundraising, the digital fundraising that you can do on Facebook as well. So, and then the other thing to keep in mind is that ads are the cheapest ads that you can get. The biggest bang for your buck is through Facebook. So TikTok is pretty expensive right now. Instagram's pretty good. And Facebook is really, really good for the amount of traction you can get for your dollar. Hopefully that answers your question. Awesome. So here are a couple examples of nonprofits that Swave Engage has worked with. One being a medium-sized organization and the other one is a startup organization. And you can see how consistency, quality posts, and working with a professional can increase your overall reach on average. And this is per month. So when we came in to work with this organization, they did already have a pretty decent base of followers. And all they really needed was that consistency. So if you can post once a day, it might sound like a lot, but it makes a huge difference. If you can post 3 times a week, great. If you can post once a week and that's all you can get in, great. Just be showing up. And then for client B here, we created their Instagram profile and they did have a Facebook profile, but we optimized it. And you can see how they went from about 0 engagement to almost 30,000 impressions within the first 2 months. This is based off of 2 months of working with these organizations. So you can see that it works. So how do we become social media pros as nonprofit professionals? We're going to focus on 3 things here. Creating buzz with our allies on social media. What tools I, as a social media professional, feel are must-haves for your nonprofit organization. And then frequently asked questions with the answers. So let's take out that list of partners or allies and talk about how we can collaborate. So one way we can do this is through a kickback event with local restaurants. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with a kickback event, you promote on your social media channels to get people into their restaurant on a particular day. The sales from that restaurant, a certain percentage of it is kicked back to your organization. This is a fairly common one, so I'm going to guess that most of you have heard of it. But with all of these scenarios, the thing to keep in mind is you're posting on your platform, they're posting on their platform. It's a mutually beneficial activity. So you're not the only one benefiting from working with your partners. So another one is to create a social media challenge, like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and encourage partner leaders to participate. I have done this type of activity a couple times with nonprofits, and the few takeaways that I have is if you're going to do this type of challenge, make the ask simple. So for example, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, you just dump a bucket of ice on your head and then you donate, and it's pretty easy. The other thing that I would keep in mind is if you're going to do this, make sure your nonprofit leaders are on board and willing to do this, because if they're willing to do it, most likely others will follow. But if they're not willing to do it, then people see that and they might not think that it's worth their while. And then also keep in mind the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge goes on today, and it did take them some time to gain traction. So if you're not seeing the results you want within the first month, don't get discouraged, but keep having fun and keep being consistent with it. And then you can create a Facebook fundraiser and encourage your partners to share on social media. And this is a really easy way to raise $300 to $500, is just having your network of people sharing Facebook fundraisers. I've seen it happen, and it happens really quickly, which is awesome. And then you can collaborate with your partners to create a Facebook Live event. And this could show up in a couple different fashions. You can get together and talk about one another and your relationship. You can get together and you can have bake a cake, have a cake cook-off. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with Facebook Live. Being entertaining is a great idea, but also educational, and make sure to keep calling to action for them to donate while you're doing it. So what else? Is there anything I'm missing here that people have done with their partners that we can share with the group? I'll give you a little time to drop that in the chat. Facebook photo contest. I like that. That must have been really fun. Giving Tuesday is a huge one. Thank you for sharing those. Okay, so next we're going to talk about my favorite tools, and tools that are either free or very low cost. Okay, is Microsoft Teams one that allows people to raise their hand? Do you know, Nick? Yeah, okay. Who's heard of Canva, and who uses it actively? How about the second one? Who uses Canva actively? Getting quite a few hands. Yeah, Canva is amazing. Okay, so it looks like we have about 7+ people who use Canva on a regular basis. So that's good to hear. And there's a reason for it. It's really, really user friendly. There is a free version and there is a paid version, and the paid version allows you to have access to more stock images and graphics. The other thing that the paid version allows you to have, and also when I say paid version, I mean about $12 a month, is there's the brand kit, which you can put in your colors, your brand fonts, and your logo. And when you're creating your graphic, and also the nice thing is they have all these templates that you can work off of, so you're not working from scratch. When you create your graphics, the color of your brand will default when you're creating those. So that's the really nice thing about the brand kit. And then recently they added the feature of the content planner. And how this works is, let's say you want to schedule a post on the 15th today. We're going to select an image. We'll just do something generic. And then you can connect your platform to this content calendar and then write your post and then schedule. And the really nice thing about this is you can sit down on a Monday morning or Friday afternoon for a couple hours. You can create a few images and with their captions and schedule it. And then you don't have to worry about it for the week that it's posting. So the next tool, oh, great. Okay. It looks like Care, I believe, says that you can get a pro version for free as a nonprofit, which is great. So do that. I highly recommend it. And then Rev is the other one that I recommend. They do transcriptions, foreign subtitles, and the one that I really want to point out to you today is the captions. Now, there are a couple different social media platforms that do captions automatically, which is great. One being TikTok, the other one being YouTube. And you could post to YouTube and then post to other social platforms, but you're going to get the best engagement when you post your videos organically. So, for example, with LinkedIn, let's say I want to share a video. This is where we would upload the caption that's downloaded from working with Rev. It's an SRT file, and it'll show up in your downloads. And I recommend this for two reasons. One, a lot of times people are viewing videos without listening to the sound, and people have a lot of different abilities, and some people are hard of hearing or can't hear, and so this allows your video to be accessible by everyone, or almost everyone. And then we just saw the content planner in Canva, but I'm also going to show you the Creator Studio in Facebook, which is also linked to Instagram through Meta. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because above all else, I believe Creator Studio, if you're posting to Facebook and Instagram, is the best way to schedule and create posts. One, it links up to insights, and you're going to get the best analytics by doing it this way. And then secondly, because it's a Facebook product, I've seen zero glitches when it comes to posting through Creator Studio. So it's really simple. You can create a post, you can add a story, upload a video, even go live. So let's say we're going to create a post. We'll choose Swave Engage. You can put your caption here as well as your hashtags, add a photo, add a video, add your location, and then choose the date that you want it scheduled. So this is Animoto, which is just one software that has templates for videos. And this is a way to create a quality post for little to no cost. It's mostly time. So I'm going to share this video of an example of one of their options, and you can think of how you might use it, but I always thought that this particular template would be good for a client story or a testimonial. So you could see how you could change the images there and the text to tell someone's story. And what social media really is storytelling. So this is just one type of content that we can use when we're telling our story on social media. And then lastly, I'm not going to go into too much detail with MailChimp, but I do recommend having some sort of email manager. I like MailChimp because I think it's user friendly, but something that can create landing pages for little to no cost, something that you can follow up with the contacts and the relationships that you make through social media. Email marketing and social media work really well together.
And we'll give a testimonial. I believe, Becca, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, we use MailChimp to reach out to all of you for Breakfast with Benefits. So we enjoy the product. I don't think we've seen much of a change since they've been acquired by Intuit. I don't know if Britt, if you noticed anything that has changed since that, but works well for us.
Yeah, I don't think that they've changed much, at least from what I've seen, and agreed. It's a great tool. And then the last thing I'm going to recommend to you is if you have any questions about social media as you're going along, is to check out Hootsuite on YouTube. And I would point you to my own resource center, but still pretty new as a business, so I don't have that yet, but someday I will. And these are really great how-to videos. They're backed up by statistics. They usually wear like lab goggles and make it really entertaining. So I encourage checking that out and seeing what other value you can get from their channel. Awesome, awesome. So now, if you have any questions so far, and keep in mind we're about to get to the frequently asked questions, so I might be answering it going forward, but I'd love to hear your thoughts maybe about the tools that we just went over or any other questions that you have.
Do we still have some hands raised from when she asked earlier if people use Canva? I just, Allie and Sam, I just want to make sure if you've got questions that we call on you or, yep, okay.
I have a quick question, Britt.
Yeah.
With Animoto, I've heard, I don't use Canva, but I've heard Canva can do similar kind of animations like that. So is it something that Animoto does better, or why use that instead of just Canva?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. From my experience, Canva does have graphics, and you do have to be careful because sometimes when you do the animated graphics on Canva, when you post it, it'll show up as a black screen because you have to press the play button in order to see it. And so a lot of times people will pass it. So just something to keep in mind. And Animoto is a little bit more of like a traditional video, whereas Canva has animated graphics. So it's just kind of a cute like twist to your post, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Pros and cons of MailChimp versus Constant Contact. They're very similar. I use Constant Contact with one of my clients, and I think MailChimp's a little bit more user friendly, and I like how the templates look better, but overall they're very similar. And I would say if you're using Constant Contact, it doesn't make sense to switch to MailChimp. They're both very good products. Nick, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Question before that was, can you post too many times? Is once a day a good standard?
I like once a day as a standard just because it'll get you the engagement that you're looking for without making social media a full-time role. Something that's manageable. Is there too many times to post a day? No. They actually recommend, like, for example, TikTok to post 3 to 4 times a day in order to get the traction that some of these viral influencers are getting. In my opinion, that's a lot because our time is limited, but once a day is a really good target to reach. Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of Razor's Edge, and I do love MailChimp, and it's easy to migrate to it. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, Razor's Edge is it's kind of the Cadillac of fundraising database management softwares that I've seen.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out after this presentation. Okay, wonderful. Well, feel free to drop anything in the chat as we're going along here if you have anything that pops into your head. Frequently asked questions with the answers. What is the best day and time to post? Go back. Okay, so this will really depend. If you look this up on the internet, you're going to find a variety of different answers. And the reason being is it entirely has to do with your organization and when your audience is active on the social platform that you're on. As a rule of thumb, I really like to focus on Tuesdays. That's when I have emails go out. It's when I have my most engaging social media posts go out. And that's what I've seen to be successful in this industry, as well as posting during the week around 3 p.m. and on the weekends earlier in the morning, like 9 or 10 a.m. But the really nice thing about these social platforms is they have analytics. And if you go to Insights, you can look at your audience. You can find out who's engaging and at what time they're engaging. And another thing to keep in mind when you're posting is they do have a shelf life. I think out of all the platforms, Twitter has the smallest shelf life. It's like 18 minutes. Instagram, or I believe Facebook, has a few hours, 4 to 5 hours. And then Instagram has a couple hours. And don't quote me on that, but you can look that up. And so if you post at like 10, people will still see it at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And you can gauge the best time to post based off those analytics. Always refer back to your analytics. It's going to be the answer to all your questions. Not all your questions, but your social media questions. Should I dabble in ads? Absolutely, you should dabble in ads. And the nice thing that maybe some people don't realize is you don't have to spend a ton of money on ads to see results. So for example, for this ad, we spent $20 and we reached almost 2,000 people and had 96 people engaging on the post. That's pretty good for $20. Another thing to keep in mind when we're looking at our ads, and what you're seeing here is if you go to your Facebook page, and I'm referring to Facebook, again, I love Facebook for nonprofits, so we're going to be focusing mostly on Facebook for this presentation, but you'll see my email again at the end. You can reach out to me. We do Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and a little bit of TikTok, or at least we're learning. I think everybody's learning with TikTok still. So you go to the ad center, you'll see your ads, you can view results, and when you view results, it might look something like this. You can see the amount of clicks. So this one was a $25 ad for 5 days. There was 19 clicks. They reached over 2,000 people, and I'd say this is a good sweet spot for cost per link click. If we're getting above $4 or $5 per click, there may be 2 things going on. One, you're in a very saturated market, so it's competitive. Or 2, you may want to play with your creative a little bit because Facebook might be flagging it as the quality isn't super high, and so they're not going to show it to as many people. And then wordstream.com here, and I don't think I can copy links without exiting my presentation, so give me 1 second. You can check out this link to see click-through rate or cost per click averages per industry. Unfortunately, they don't have nonprofit on there, go figure. But $1.32 is a good thing to shoot for when we're looking at this. And the link that you put in your ads should go to your website. They actually won't allow links that don't go to your website because it registers your website. Ideas for free publicity instead of ads for nonprofit events. As I go forward, Anne, could you elaborate a little bit on that? And the other thing about ads is here is your ad, and it can show you exactly the age range that was the highest engagement on your post. It'll show you the reach, it'll show you the gender, and this can be showed per ad. Now keep in mind, if you're targeting women, you're mostly going to see women as those that engage with your post. Oh yeah, that is a great suggestion. So having news media posting about your org is often a free way to do it, and you can reach a lot of people. And so that's an alternative to ads. Or if you're standing on more than one leg, you can have both of them at the same time.
Britt, we missed, Becca, do you recommend trying to have a presence on all social media platforms or focusing your energy on just a few?
I would focus your energy on just a few, and 1 or 2 to start is good, because what you're doing when you are starting out is you're getting a gauge of what type of content your audience resonates with, and you're in the learning phase. So you don't want to be in the learning phase with too many platforms. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed. And so focus in on one, and then you can branch out from there. That would be my suggestion. Yeah. Google Ads does have a free $10,000 a month grant for nonprofits. I know that you need to apply for it, and there are certain qualifications, but that is a great resource to check out. And I believe you could Google that and find that one. And $10,000 will take you a long way, so it's worth checking out. So ways to filter on Facebook. So when we're doing ads, there's a lot of different ways that we can filter on Facebook, including geographical location, demographics, which may include age, job title, gender, interests. I like to target based off of interest. And if you know what your market size or your market is, then you can focus on things that they're interested in. And let's say your market is most of them dabble in Spotify, then you can do, okay, my market is interested in giving back to the community, and they're also usually users of Spotify. You can group those two together. And the nice thing about Facebook in particular is you can select smart audience. So as people engage, Facebook will make adjustments to your ad and who it's targeting based off of who's engaging the most. And that's just one way. You can do friends of friends. There's a lot of different ways that you can target and a lot of different objectives that you can select. So how do we come up with engaging content? Marty has a good question. Do you find you can trust Facebook's recommended ad audience target? I usually will start with what I know versus what Facebook recommends, because you're going to know your organization and your audience best. You can work with what they recommend. It really depends. I would just be cautious and take a look at what they recommend before going forward with that. Can you talk a bit about the overlap or ways they don't overlap with posts on Facebook and Instagram? Yeah. So I think I'm understanding the question right. You can post to Facebook, and then when you're creating an ad, you can select to have it post to Facebook, Messenger, or Instagram, or all of them. What I would look at is your reach. And a lot of times if you select or unselect Instagram, it really depends. It'll tell you your reach will go up or down. So I would choose the combination that has the highest reach. And sometimes that includes Instagram and sometimes it doesn't. And it's all based off of the database and what they know versus what we know about your audience and targeting that audience. You can also go into Instagram by itself and go to your post, and you can boost your post and you can target people directly in there. So when it comes to dabbling in ads across different platforms, I would recommend trying things. Try things, look at the analytics, and evaluate what's working over what's not working. Did that answer your question, Emily? Okay, hopefully. Otherwise, you can drop another question in the chat. So, okay, wonderful. So coming up with engaging content. I have a little exercise for us, and this will take a little bit of time and we'll all be at a little bit different rates. So if you get done with this before someone else, feel free to grab a coffee, go to the bathroom, what have you. And how this exercise works is you're going to write down different components of your nonprofit organization. So for example, here I have volunteering. Okay, what are some things that are associated with volunteering at our organization? Ongoing volunteering, big events to volunteer at, and these are all content ideas that we're coming up with. So ongoing volunteering, what can we communicate to our audience about ongoing volunteering? We could have testimonials of the volunteers that we have on a regular basis. We could talk about how to sign up for our volunteer experience. And the same thing with our programs, let's say. We could have the programming, we could talk about the different categories of our programming, and then we could talk about the people in our programming. So I'd really like us to try to sit down and come up with 1, 2, 3 of these if you're feeling really ambitious. And as you're going through this and coming up with your content ideas, and again, this is just one method that you can use. So if what works for you is just coming up with a list of ideas, that's okay too. But as you're coming up with your list, think quality, authenticity, so real images, real videos, real people. We want to tug on people's heartstrings and really open the door to the warmth and the beautiful parts of our organization. And then think about engagement. So what are some things that we can post that people will really connect with, and ways that people can comment and like and be interactive with your post. And then we can take it one step further, and for each of the ideas that we come up with, we can write down the assets that we do have and maybe some assets that we should create in order to fulfill that idea. So some ideas of social media assets are pictures, videos, polls or surveys, quotes from testimonials, sponsorship recognition, and anything else that you can think of. And if you have ideas for posts that have done well for you, drop it in the chat and let's help each other out. So I'm going to give us 5 minutes for this. And we will come back after we've had a chance to engage in this exercise. And feel free to drop questions in the chat while we're waiting or while we're doing this too. All right, so we're coming up on our last minute for this exercise. And just to make sure that we have enough time for questions, I think I'm going to move forward, but feel free to continue that exercise after this presentation. So we will get to questions. I just want to highlight a couple of our partners. We have Busy, who has one-day websites, one-day branding, and one-day SEO. They're wonderful, and I highly recommend them. We have Underbelly, who does custom illustrations. And if you're working with Swave Engage, they do give a discount for social media posts. And their illustrations are a bit premium, so when working with Underbelly, I recommend using them for events or big announcements and something that can be repurposed in flyers and other marketing materials as well. We have opportunities to serve. So if you aren't finding the consultant that you're looking for, Opportunities to Serve is a great organization. And then QGive is the donation platform that I always recommend to our clients. And I'm gonna exit out of this really quick. So this is my second time giving this presentation, and I'm always open to feedback. So if you could just take a couple minutes after this presentation to fill out this quick survey, I would really appreciate it. And if you want to learn more about Swave Engage, we have swaveengage.com, or you can email me once again at Peckham@swaveengage.com. Dropping it in the chat there. I see the font shows up really large in the comments. I like it. And then with that, we can end with any questions that you have. Did I do so good that there's no questions?
Not seeing anything funneling in right now, Britt. I want to first, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge. I definitely picked up a few things that I can share with nonprofits that have, when the topic of social media comes up. So that's always nice. I think there was great engagement through the chat. So that's always welcome. Just real quick for everybody who's on the call right now, we do have a gift certificate to Amazon for your participation. We want to encourage these sorts of events. So Tyler, do you have a name for us?
I do indeed. Dana Richardson was the winner this morning.
Awesome. Well, Dana, we'll be sending you an email with a link that you can redeem that. We've got one more of these, correct, Tyler?
I believe that's right.
Right, that's probably Becca's department.
Becca knows better than I do.
Yeah, she's right now on our front porch talking with somebody who's dropping off some hand-me-down clothes. So anyway, that just randomly happened. That's how life goes sometimes. But yeah, there's definitely something in May. We usually do every other month, starting in September, and then taking the summer months off. If anybody in the group wants to email me about any topics they would like to see in future months, I'd be welcome to that feedback as well. We will send out a survey after our last one, asking those sorts of questions. But thank you for everybody who was able to attend today. Have a great rest of your week, as the temperatures seem to be headed in the right direction for those of us who like spring and don't like to ice skate and snow ski and all of that. But great to have you all here, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, everyone.